I didn't know how, and I was also afraid of men.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was afraid of men, yes.
Diane Keaton's final decision caught everyone off guard. Weeks before her passing, she quietly put her Los Angeles home, the place she once called her forever house, up for sale. To the public, it looked like a simple real estate move, but to those close to her, it was something deeper. It was a goodbye, her last move before stepping away from the spotlight for good. This is the truth behind Diane Keaton's final days, the decision that shocked Hollywood, the illness she kept hidden, and the legacy she left behind. In late March, Diane's closest circle began to notice subtle changes. She had stopped attending events, canceled a handful of interviews, and turned down several public appearances. For someone who had spent decades under the bright lights of Hollywood, her sudden withdrawal was noticeable. Still, she remained as private as ever. No statements, no explanations, just a quiet distance that only grew with time. Then came the real surprise. Out of nowhere, she listed her beloved Brentwood home for $29 million. The property was a masterpiece, a 5-bedroom, 7-bathroom estate that she had spent nearly 10 years designing, renovating, and perfecting. It wasn't just a house, it was her dream project, the physical expression of everything she loved about art, architecture, and storytelling. In her 2017 book, The House That Pinterest Built, Diane described how she had designed the home from the ground up, inspired by the story of the 3 little pigs. As a child, she was fascinated by the brick house, the one that couldn't be blown down. That image had stayed with her for decades, and this home was her adult version of that dream, strong, timeless, and safe. That's why when the news broke that Diane was selling it, everyone was stunned. Why would she part with the place she once said she'd never leave? The answer, as it turns out, was heartbreakingly simple. Her health was beginning to decline, and she knew she wouldn't be able to maintain it anymore. Sources close to Diane revealed that her condition had worsened in the months before her passing. It was sudden, quiet, and deeply personal. She didn't want to worry anyone, said one longtime friend. She was proud, private, and she handled everything her own way, always with grace. By April, she had begun spending more time with her family and less time on the phone or in meetings. Friends described her as peaceful, reflective, and surprisingly calm.
She was letting go,
said another source.
not in a sad way, but in a way that felt like closure.
Throughout her entire career, Diane Keaton stood apart from everyone else in Hollywood. She was never interested in following the rules or conforming to expectations. Her fashion, her humor, her outlook on life, all of it was uniquely her own. From Annie Hall to The Godfather, she played women who were complex, real, and unapologetically themselves. Off-screen, she lived that same authenticity. She never married, never chased fame, and was never afraid to laugh at herself. She once said in an interview, "The best thing I ever did was not try to be perfect. I just tried to be honest." That honesty is what made her so beloved. She wasn't a mystery because she hid herself. She was a mystery because she never felt the need to explain herself, and that same quiet confidence carried her through her final months. After her passing, close friends began to piece together the timeline. The decision to sell the house had come just after she received worrying health news. She had kept the diagnosis private, choosing not to make it public or burden others with sympathy. Instead, she focused on the things she loved, walking her dog every morning, taking photos of old architecture around Los Angeles, and writing in her journals. Neighbors recalled seeing her on her walks, always wearing her signature wide-brimmed hat, always greeting people with kindness. She looked thinner, one neighbor told People magazine,
But she still had that energy in her eyes, like she knew more than she was saying.
To the end, Diane Keaton remained fiercely independent. Even when her health declined rapidly in her final weeks, she was surrounded only by her immediate family, her children, her sister, and a few trusted friends. They chose to keep everything private, just as she wanted. When she passed, the news hit Hollywood like a shockwave. Tributes poured in within hours. Woody Allen called her the greatest actress I've ever worked with. Nancy Meyers wrote, "She made imperfection look magical." She reminded us that being real is more beautiful than being flawless. Dozens of her co-stars, from Al Pacino to Steve Martin, shared personal memories of her warmth, her humor, and her ability to make any room feel lighter. But for those who knew her best, her final decision, the sale of her home, wasn't about real estate. It was about freedom. She had always said that her home was her sanctuary, but in her final months, she no longer needed walls or design to define peace. She had already built her legacy. She had already told her story. Letting go of her house was her way of saying, I'm done. I'm ready. It's easy to romanticize the idea of a Hollywood legend's final days, but Diane's were quiet, simple, and deeply human. There were no camera crews, no headlines, no farewell tours, just moments of reflection, love, and acceptance. Friends said she spent her last few weeks surrounded by books, photographs, and letters she had written to herself over the years. Some were filled with dreams she'd achieved. Others were reminders of lessons learned. In one of those notes, reportedly written in her signature looping handwriting, she had written, "Keep laughing, keep building, and when the time comes, know that it's okay to let go." That line, for many who knew her, defined who Diane Keaton truly was. She wasn't afraid of endings. She saw them as a part of life's design, just another act in a long, beautiful story. Even after her passing, her home remains a lasting piece of her legacy. The design reflects her soul, raw concrete walls softened by warm light, stacks of photography books, and vintage furniture collected from decades of travels. Every inch of that house told a story, and when she decided to let it go, she didn't just sell a property, she closed a chapter. Hollywood will forever remember Diane Keaton as the woman who made being yourself look effortless. Her laughter was infectious, her honesty was disarming, and her legacy will continue to inspire generations of artists who refuse to fit into boxes. But maybe the most powerful part of her story isn't how she lived, it's how she left. Quietly, peacefully, with dignity. No spectacle, no chaos, no pity. Just a graceful exit from the world she had spent her life coloring in. Diane Keaton's last move truly did shock everyone, not because it was scandalous, but because it was so her. Unpredictable, yet deeply intentional. Private, yet filled with meaning. She didn't fade away. She simply stepped out of the frame, leaving behind the light that made her unforgettable. Rest in peace, Diane Keaton. You didn't just act. You taught the world how to live without pretending, how to age without fear, how to say goodbye without words. And even now, long after the cameras have stopped rolling, your story continues to shine, quietly and forever.